layers are really handy when it comes to dimensioning your object with multiple scenes here. So for every scene, I want to add a specific layer as well. So let's go to Window, Layers, and no matter what, you cannot get rid of layer 0. Layer 0 is in every single model and you cannot delete it. So I've got 3 additional scenes that I want to detail. I'm not worried about overview because I don't want anything on this particular scene. No dimensions, no nothing. I like it the way it is, but you can if you want. I'm going to add 3, one for each of my additional scenes. So let's add another layer and let's name them the exact same thing as our scenes. First one, top overhang. The second one I'm going to add is side detail, and the third one I'm going to add is top detail. Now I'm going to be putting all my dimensions on these particular layers, and I don't want any of them visible. I don't want any dimensions visible on my overview. So by default on this particular scene, I want to uncheck the visibility of these additional layers. Then I can right click and say update this scene, which also updates my layers. Let's go to top overhang. And wherever your little dot is, that's where you're going to start drawing. So I want to start my dimensions. I want to put them in my top overhang layer. So let's click on this and let's go ahead and start our dimension tool. D for dimension if you've set up that shortcut. And from side to side right there, I'm just going to drop a dimension and let's drop another one right here. I can verify that these are on the top overhang layer by selecting them. Right click and say entity info, and my 2 linear dimensions are selected and the layer is top overhang. Now I can change this if I want to put it on a different layer, but I want everything to be on the same layer as they are on the same scene. So top overhang. I only want these dimensions visible. I don't want any dimensions from any other scenes visible, so let's uncheck these 2 and let's right click here and say update. Now if I go back to overview, see the dimensions went away because they're not visible on this particular scene. Now if I go to side detail, well, you know what, they're right there. That's because I have not unchecked the top overhang. As soon as I do, they go away. Alright, I'm in the side detail scene, so let's go to the side detail layer and let's just arbitrarily throw a dimension down here, doesn't really matter, just for the sake of it, and verify that it is on the appropriate layer by clicking on it with the entity info menu dialog open, and it says I am on side detail, which is the correct layer. So now let's uncheck the visibility of the other 2. I already unchecked top overhang, and let's uncheck top detail. So the only visible layer on the side detail scene is the side detail layer. Let's right click and say update. Now if I go to top detail, you can still see that these dimensions are visible, and underneath all this other stuff, that dimension is still visible. So let's click back on here on scene, and we are in top detail, so let's uncheck. Whoops, you can't uncheck a layer that is currently the selected layer. So let's go to layer 0. Now let's uncheck the visibility of side, uncheck the visibility of top overhang. So those dimensions went away. I like it where it is. Let's right click and say update. We can verify that no dimensions are visible by just moving around, and no dimensions are visible. So now with different layers set up with different visibilities per scene, that may sound totally confusing, but you can now scroll through all of these and say overview has no dimensions visible. Top overhang only has the dimensions visible which we want. Same with side detail, only that one in the bottom and not these over here. And both of them are gone again in top detail. So that's really quick how you can go through and change your layers to add specific notations and dimensions. Yeah, this also works with text and leaders, additional objects to your document here. Anything you want, just specifically put it on that layer, and if you uncheck the visibility on the others, then you won't see it when you go to the other scenes.